Okay, I could try that idea. Let's try that idea. These will have to be spread out pretty far apart, but that's exactly why I was given this much space, right? So the idea now is to check if a value is not equal to 1, or a value is equal to -1, send it out to become a 0. Right, and we must have a conveyor that pushes it this way, because I know it's going to turn right. So this will produce an output at this conveyor at equal times. So what I'm saying is that if I were to just have this be here, you see there's going to be some disparity. If it's not 1, it's going to take a longer path. If it is 1, it's going to take a shorter path. But with this idea here, they're all going to take the same path, which is what I want. If it checks for not 1, it will send it up and make an equal to 0. And as such, that will happen. And actually, this is all we need, actually. So I guess the gate wasn't in fact that challenging. Now, I don't need to copy this over and over again. Basically what I want to do is I want to sum everything up once done. And I actually wonder if I can do that easier if I put them in a huddle instead. If I put them in a huddle instead, is it better? It might be better. Alright, I need to connect them as well. Yeah. I haven't seen anything go down here yet. There's a 1 coming up here. That'll be sent this way. Okay, so this gate also works. I'm thinking of sending this to a huddle so that they can all sum together at the same time. So I'll put this one on the other side. Obviously, being on the other side, you have to mirror everything. But since everything is mirrored, you have to flip it as well, vertically. Yeah, that's doable. Alright, let me just work this out slowly. Ooh, we might not have space. It's fine. Ooh, I have space when I do this. Hooray. There you go. Okay, so copy this. There you go. Okay, I need them all to converge into the same... Okay, I need them to all converge to the same position at the same time, which is why I'm making this a lot more complicated than it should be. But these are all converged to the same position at the same time. I can have a conveyor push everything upwards. And that is how we get the value to be... Alright. Okay. So this machine does its job and basically outputs only a 0 or a 1, I think. Let's see. 0, 1, or 2. Whoa, what? Wait, some of them are not at the right timing. Some of them don't merge at the right timing. This one is a bit weird. This is a bit weird. This one should be... Here is where the connection should be, but it's a 1 off. So everything else needs to be 1 off as well? Or everything needs to be... Yeah, everything needs to be 1 off. Okay, I can easily do that here. Just push this up by 1. Oh. Everything's 1 off now. As for this, I can make this look like that. And then shift this entire thing over. And now it's off by 1 as well. So we'll produce outputs. Yes. And now we will have some... why is there still a negative there? Right, because it's not connected over. So a negative here should become a 0, which is why I also need a 0 equalizer here. Okay, so this only produces 1s and 0s, which I love. Producing only 1s and 0s is what I need. And now, and only now, can I possibly have some sort of result. Nah, still seems a bit challenging. Let me think about this. With ones and zeros for the presence of outputs, what do we do? Well, yeah, no, ones and zeros. If a 1 is checked, it adds 1. If a 0 is checked, it should add 0, but I can't do that, can I? Unless I have them happen at the same time. Unless I duplicate them and have them run along both checkers. I duplicate them. Okay. Each one will check certain values multiple times, and for each check produces the necessary signals and will destroy everything. So yes, this seems okay. Each time something comes in here, it either goes this way or this way. I can always set these checkers to check for 0 and produce a 0 if I need to. I can always set these checkers to produce a 1 if I need to. Yeah, okay. Hopefully this works. The 1s will produce something that equals 1. Alright, so let's run this through. No issues, okay. It seems to work for like the most part though. It seems to work all the way onto here. Why? It stops working when it checks for 2. Okay, breakpoint here then. When does it stop working? Ah, because because these don't check, they just check for equal to 1. If you have a 2, what? Wait, why doesn't a 2 exist again? Are we long gone? Wait, what? Oh, it's here. Wait. Is it because they all run on the same line? These two 1s should produce a 2 here, but it doesn't produce a 2 here. Okay, my idea is wrong now. I was thinking that if there are 2 signals produced at the Y, no, those signals are gonna stack and produce a 0, then become a 1. So everything else, I think everything else is fine now except for this thing. Right? Where 2 should have been produced, it instead produces a 1. And I see why that happens. So instead, each of these should produce a separate unit. Is that correct? Is that correct? Okay, hold on. Can I make this better? I think I can make this better by shifting this entire thing down. I'll have a bit more space that way. Oh. Yeah. There you go. So it still produces outputs that merge at the same time. Yeah. Okay, that's a lot more space. I am very happy with this improvement. Anyway, I just need to fix this issue. But I can fix this issue very easily by just sending them into 2 separate areas and having each quadrant do its own thing. Now, Now, again, should each one link to its own Y port? I think that's how it should work. Each one should link to its own Y port, but each 0 need not, because 0 produces a 0. And if you produce two zeros that merge, they become a 0 as well, which, you know, it's just the exact same thing. So each Y, each one checker here should attach to its own Y port, but each 0 need not. Okay, so let's do this. Each of these will connect to one equalizer, and they will, well, they'll very clearly simply just merge and output here. Should a fourth one also merge? Yeah, I guess these should also merge, huh? Because these each take 1, 2, 3 steps, this should also take 3 steps, so the Y port over here should take 3 steps to get to its output. If a 0 is checked, 0 produces an output, and it produces an output. There's an output here that produces a 1, so a 1 is produced. Good, 1 is produced, 1 is produced. Okay, check back here. 1, okay. I need to check here, exactly here. There are 2 of these produced, which will sum to 2. Oh! Oh, we just saw a summation to 2. Good. What about here? Is there a summation to 3? Oh, oh, there's some 2s here. Ah. Well, I can not need to check for 1, I can just check for more than 0. Because more than 0 simply detects a presence, which is better. That still works. Still produces 2. When does that... Oh, what? Wait, why does that fail? Right there. Let's go back a bit. So here... Oh, we're far behind that point already. Oh gosh. Okay, so I'm preferring to check back here so I can see what's going on. At some point, there should be 3 1s in a row. Wait, obviously, why would that be 3 1s in a row again? I still feel like I'm doing this wrong. I think I know why. It does not explain to me why the 2s work but the 3s don't. But do all 2s work? All 2s work, all 3s don't. Except this. Yeah, see, even this signal works, right? It detects signals that are longer, but it doesn't do it when merged with something else, somehow. And then here as well. I don't know what's going on here. Yeah, no idea what's going on here. Maybe it's about the repeated... Yeah, maybe it's about... That wouldn't make any sense. Wait, what is this checking in? Oh, this checks... What? Do we just keep producing for the next test case? Wait, yeah, why are there still outputs even if there are no outputs coming out anymore? Oh no, because these are not... These occur at the same time as these, but come from outputs here. So yeah, it is about these things that actually don't work. So, okay. Why? Well, let's see. Here's a 1. Is there a 1 that's coming up, or is there a 2 that's coming up? There should be a 2 that's coming up, yes? Where? Oh, it's coming up now, right? Yeah, a 2 is coming up. That 2 is from here. And that 2 is correct. And so this 2 should produce 3 symbols. Ah, but that's where the mistake comes in. A 2 shouldn't produce 1. It should produce 2. Shouldn't it? But because it's checked 3 times for any value that just equals 1, it just equals 1. Well, since we're counting, then why not, instead of the y pods, just duplicate the value? Why don't we just do that? Yeah, why don't we just duplicate the value? The zeros can still be connected to the y pods, that's fine, but why don't we just duplicate the values then? Okay, so we don't no longer need the y pods here. So instead of these, we duplicate the values. Because each of these will connect to a... Well, it would essentially have connected to... Ooh, I don't like this though. Like, there's no space here. Alright, let's get rid of this entire thing. So I still want a... I still want a duplicator that was separate, but this one duplicator will produce 3 outputs, yes? Actually, the third output can just go this way. So 3 outputs here. Those 3 outputs will be separated by a cycle of 2 exactly. Each of these will simply... Well, they should simply just add up to the final value of like this, right? So what's wrong with this? Well, something's gonna be wrong. As for these, well, we can just emulate sort of the same thing, right? Where it checks for 0 3 times, and then discards it once done. And each time it checks for 0, it produces an output. But since this and this must occur at the same time, and this takes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to get here, then we should have an output that also takes 5 steps to get there. So around here, 1, 2, yes. And then connect them all with a wire. So if there is a 1, the 0 will just not do anything, right? The 0 will bond with this 0, because that 0, yeah. So it doesn't matter, right? Ooh, but these will mix, and then you get some very weird values, won't you? You will. In fact, because you have 3 sets of 1, won't you triple your value? Yes, that's because you're supposed to be sending them in at different times, not at the same time. So... So they need to all duplicate but send the... Okay, but spend the same number of... Wait. Yeah, okay, hold on. So they need to duplicate, but they shouldn't mess with each other, which is why... Okay, let's move this away. Which is why... this should work. So 1 in, 1 in, 1 in. And then because these all also spend 1 in, I'll just do this. Okay. 1 in, 1 in, 1 in, and 1 in, and then zeros again, and zeros again, and then 1 in. Okay, okay, seems to work so far. Okay. Breakpoint, 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 breakpoint. Does it work past breakpoint? Does it work for the 3s? It works for the 3s. Does it keep working? Cancel breakpoint. No, it stops there. Why? There's a singular mistake. What is the mistake? It should sense... It senses a 3 instead of a 2. Why would it sense a 2? Wait. Each signal contributes a 1. Oh, that breaks everything, doesn't it? Because this detects... I thought each increase is 1, but no, each signal can only produce 1 at a time. Oh, whoa. What? Wait, that breaks everything. And that probably breaks everything for the rest of the cases as well. like this would break over here, right? Oh, what? No, that worked for test case 1? Wait, why did it? Oh, because this and this are too far apart. But it will not work for something like this here. Yeah, you also get a singular arrow. Oh. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no, I didn't read the instructions. Oh, that's gonna mess things up so bad. This is a two-parter. Which will be reflected by the fact that this is a separate episode. Okay, well, firstly, I don't even know how we fix that. Like, now that the new instruction has been given to us, I have absolutely no idea how to even get this working. Because this entire machine works based on testing for increases. But if they don't want increases, they want a cap. They want a cap for each of these to be 1. Okay, I have another idea now. Let's grab a new setup. Hello. Welcome back to ABI-DOS. No idea how I'm gonna edit this. I have some ideas. But this is a really interesting insert. I'm either gonna make this a follow-up episode, or I'm gonna just simply take this episode, take the previous episode, combine them and cut them in half, so you get some really weird edits along the way. I mean, we'll see how it goes. But I finally solved signal counter with this mess of a setup. You can see the 3 modules here for each of these outputs. And yeah, I can tell that it works. Well, I can't really tell that it works because I've never actually solved it. But it works so far with this. It works so far, and it will continue working for the next set as well, and for the next set as well, and for the next set as well. And so far I have not yet found a solution that I've not found something that breaks so far, so I'm going to assume it works. I've actually gotten the windscreen yet, so yeah, we'll see how that goes. Before that though, I want to show you my design process. So at the very beginning we had this design, right? Don't ignore this side. I kind of optimized this side a little bit to make sure I understood what I was doing. This side over here, actually, to make this a bit more realistic, this was what we left off with in the previous episode. It looks something like this, and all of these are actually identical setups. You'll notice that each of them have a cycle of 2, so each of them will produce a new bit every 2 cycles. Each of them will connect the previous bit with the current bit, and will do so. So here it does so like this, here it does so like this, and here it does so like this. But these are 3 different designs, improved one after another. And finally, this design over here is what gives us the least space. And this initial improvement will not help this design, because this design's inherent failure is at this section over here. But it will give us enough space that we can fit this into our final design. So what happened here was an obstructor will hold this until this is released, but as you can see that the catching of this bit occurs at the same time as the signal is, not the signal, at the same time this is sensed, right? So it's as if the thing wasn't there, which means that you can remove it and then everything still works as per normal. we have an error somewhere. Actually, I have no idea why there's an error here. Like, I don't know what caused an error. I think I broke something somewhere. Anyway, that's not the main point of the solution. You can see here that we do have a pretty big area over here. But I realized that what this does is it basically offsets the top bit by 2, right? Which allows it to bond with the next bit, or add up to the next bit. And so I say, well, if there is an offset of 2, then why not I make this offset shorter by making it do this? And the reason why that works is that in a path that looks like this, okay, hold on, compared, I think I should make this, yeah, I should make both vertical. In a path that looks like this, compared to a path that looks like this, it might look like this top bit over here will take more time. But no, these both are essentially identical, because in both cases, the top bit takes exactly 2 more cycles. And that is true because if you check the length is the same in terms of the parallel lengths, but there is one going up and one going down on the perpendicular segments. And so in both cases, the protruding bit will always take 2 cycles more. And will always do so regardless of how long this track is, this extra track is. Meaning that I could optimize it by basically making the protrusion as short as possible. Yeah, and that's what I did. I basically shortened it. There's two empty cells of space here, so I can cut away both cells of space, and eventually I'm end up with this, where every single cell is used up by an icon of some sort. Here you can see at the very end we also use a very similar setup for all 3 of these. These check for positive values. You can see here that there is a, yes, in this case, but in this case, well, more specifically, it checks for non-ones. It checks for zeros and negative ones. And the reason why this works is because when you add to the previous bit, right, you're basically not calculating the value itself, but calculating how the value changes compared to the previous bit. If it's a 1, it's an increase. If it's a 0, nothing changes. And if it's a -1, it's a decrease. And so since we're checking out for positive values, we're checking out for non-ones, which are anything that isn't a positive value. Anything that isn't a positive value will be sent to be equal to 0, meaning there will be no output, or the output will result in a negative value. If it's a 1, it will simply pass through and become a 1. So this distinguishes ones and non-ones and separates them into two signals, ones and zeros. And the same is true for all 3 of these, and therefore at the very end, you only get ones and zeros outputted. Yeah, also, wait a minute. I see the issue now. I see why we got stuff wrong. You can see there's an offset here. These guys don't merge at the same time. That's because I shortened this by 1. And so if I lengthen it by 1, everything should work as per normal. Right, so everything should work as per normal at this point. And this works. Well, this setup at the bottom works. The only setup that doesn't work is at the top. And the reason why, you can see around down here, is that, alright, let's set a breakpoint. At some point, you get these 2 signals that are pressed very close to each other. And what happens is that, because the signal at the top produces another signal for 2 more cycles to come, the signal, and that's true because you have duplicators here and here. So whatever is here is duplicated up, and whatever is here will be pressed down. And so this and the one that's 2 before will sum together. Basically that means that you will sum everything that's here, everything that's 1 before, and everything that's 2 before it. And that's how you manage to get this 1 symbol to last 2 turns, essentially in this case. However, that fails because here, you get a signal from this one, and then that will last 2 more signals. At this signal number 58, you will get another signal. And by right, you are therefore supposed to have a total sum of 2. And that is actually what happens, right? When it calculates this, it will produce a sum of 2. And if I could set a breakpoint to show you, eventually you see that 2 ones or 3 ones merge to each other. Obviously the 2 from here and here, here and here, they do form a 2, but this one forms a 3rd, which actually means you get a sum of 3. But you're not supposed to do that. It says wrong, you're supposed to only have 2. The reason why is because, we checked this at the very end of the last video, each signal can only contribute a maximum value slice of 1. Maximum value of 1 each time slice. Meaning that even though there are 2 signals here, they can only output a total value of 1. which means that something needs to change. And I went around trying to figure it out. At first, I thought that what that meant was that it doesn't count the signal at all. Here you can see that's definitely not true. This signal actually still lasts for, which is why you see more 2s coming out after the signal comes out. After this first signal diminishes, it shouldn't produce anything else. This signal is the one that produces the extra that forms 1, 2, and this final 1 instead. So in actuality, this one signal is counted. However, when I first repassed this, I thought that what they wanted was that for this, after this, the next 2 signals does not count anything at all. It simply just adds 1 to the output signal. But that's not true, it does count this one. I thought it didn't, but it does. But here is my solution where I believed it shouldn't have counted the signal. And I believe this works, except for these last 2 signals, right? So again, got really close. You see that there is the sort of same module thing here, where one of these are the modules. Now how this works is a lot more different. But you can see here, when it goes out, it is sent over here. It is checked for a value of 1. If it's not checked for a value of 1, it is either a 0, or it will be a 0, right? And a 0 will be sent forward, and an output of 0 will be formed. However, if a 1 is detected, it'll be sent here, and this will change direction. So let's look at signal 2, which is this one. Let's take a look at it. A 0 comes out, nothing happens, the 0 signal forms. This one over here as the next signal is detected and changes the direction of this. How that works is that this 0 now goes down this way and is therefore destroyed and not counted at all. It is counted consistently as producing a 1 value from here. This one will go down here, it will flip this to go here, and this one will go back here. The reason why this exists is so that this outside gate lasts exactly 2 cycles. One cycle will swap it to the other state, and the other cycle will reset the entire system. So after those 2 cycles occur, the entire thing resets. And now looking at 0 here is where, S1. Looking at S1 here is when the next 1 signal comes out. You can see the same thing happens. And this generally works. In fact, it works very well for long signals as well, because it works for signals that are up to 3 long. If it's a signal that's 4 long, it actually fails as well, because it will count the 4th signal as a positive, even though it shouldn't be a positive. But in this case, what the actual failure was is here. Here, it's supposed to count this signal down here, but it doesn't. And therefore you get the fact that instead of a 2, it sends out a 1. And that's why it fails. And for some reason, this 1 sends out a 2 somehow. I don't know why. Oh, it should be a 1, but it sends out a 0, right? It sends out 1 less because it doesn't count this guy. So yeah, that's why it fails. I misread the question again. So now I read the question a 3rd time, and this is where I got really stumped. There was nothing I could do at this point. In fact, I recorded the building of this solution on camera, but you didn't see it because I edited it out, or I will edit it out. But after this, I repassed it. I said, well, how can you count this and not have a new signal be formed? It's almost as if you have to count this and yet nullify its signal. And this got me really stumped. I ended up giving up at the very end of the video. I just shut off the program and went to sleep. It was pretty late and I went to sleep. And I mean, it didn't keep me up all night, but I was thinking about it. And I thought about it all the way until the next morning. Not all the way, but I was still thinking about it in the morning. I had this glorious idea in the shower, which is surprisingly where a lot of my ideas come from, somehow. I mean, yeah. You can therefore say, I guess, that this entire solution, or most of the solution, was actually a shower thought. You know what? That actually works a lot for me. Anyway, this is where this new thing comes up. Remember when I said something about this being equivalent to this in terms of the number of cycles lapped? Each of them laps 2 cycles. Laps being LAPSE. Each of the top protruding bit will lapse 2 cycles. It'll be slow by 2 cycles, and therefore we'll be able to sum to the cycle next to it. Here, I made it so that one of them lapses 2 cycles, the other laps 4 cycles. So this allows a very early allows a very early mix between both its current bit, the bit before it, and the bit 2 before it. Because this symbol connects it to the one before it, this one connects it to the 2 before it because it's 4 away, and each signal comes out every 2 cycles. So the bit that was 4 cycles away is 2 whole signals before that, right? And so this setup allows you to bond 3 signals all together by the point you reach this sensor over here. And now I was thinking that, okay, this is very good. Now all I need to do is check for more than 0. And the reason why is because if it's hard to explain this, but if a bit has existed for either its cycle or 2 cycles ago or 1 cycle ago, there should be some residue coming out of these lapsed signals that will be triggered by this, right? However, if it's a prolonged signal, then that signal will actually bond with a previous signal producing a value of 2. And we don't like that. So this signal exists to check for any positive value, which implies the pressing of a signal at most 2 signals before it. And so what that happens is, if it detects a positive value, it just turns it into a 1 no matter what. Otherwise it's 0. Does this work? No. It works for everything but these. And these are particularly the ones that are longer than 1. So I made a solution that works for multiple 1 length presses, but none of the multiple length presses. So all the multiple length presses fail. And my diagnosis was, well, if it detects this is the latest signal, so this will be the one that persists for 2 turns. And I don't like that, right? It's not supposed to be the one that persists for 2 turns. It's only supposed to take this and make that persist for 2 turns. So that's why this fails. And yeah, I got pretty disheartened. I thought while I was in the shower, I thought, this is a really good idea, but something else should happen, correct? And yeah, something else did happen. I thought about the very first solution I had, and I saw this non-1 symbol, and I was like, that's pretty good, because a non-1 will occur on all these extra lines, right? This 1 will produce a 1 on its own, these will produce extra 1s, and so this non-1 will be a good detector for this. And in fact, because this detector detects all the long signals but not these repeated presses, whereas this third solution detects all the repeated presses but not the long signals, I just thought, why don't I mix up the solutions? And that is how the final solution was born. You can see here, there is this one which came from the original solution, a check for non-1s, and there's also this that adds up to its previous solution. And the reason why this works is because all the 2s, this detects the difference, right? If the difference is 0, then it doesn't count anything. The difference is if the difference is -1, therefore a decrease, it doesn't count anything. If the difference is 1, it counts it in. So this will only count increases. Okay? Which means all of these guys are now out. This is still a problem though, because this one, well, firstly, this setup itself doesn't produce 2 extra copies of itself, which is why this exists. But obviously, if we use the previous solution, we knew this wouldn't exist. But this is rectified by this setup, so why don't we use this setup in place of it? And surprisingly, it works. So these are the 3 modules that I have. You'll notice that there's a bunch of random stuff on the background, a lot of Y ports, and the reason why is because I first check for 0s, then I check for more than 0s. For all the 0s, you'll produce this, which is insane to me. The reason why I did this was that at the very beginning of my attempt at this, these would each produce their own 0 sum, right? And so if any of them was 0, a 0 would come out. And I don't like that. It's not supposed to, right? Because if there's a 1 somewhere, only a 1 comes out, a 0 doesn't come out. And obviously it doesn't seem to affect anything at first, but it actually does, because a 0 can come out at the wrong time, right? And now that I'm thinking about it, I could actually maybe try and alter this to make sure that the 0 always lines up with something. Let's copy a slot into S4 and play around with it. Now, what I have here is that each 0 is connected to these, right? And each of these zeros will connect to something that produces a 1. And this detects a 3. So what happens is it only causes this Y to produce something if that 0, if all 3 of them are 0. Only then will it produce Y. And I can show you how that works right now. These 3 zeros produce zeros here, here, and here. They sum together to form a 3, and therefore this produces an output. However, the reason why this normally should work is because the zeros, when adding to a 1, will produce a 1 anyway. However, the reason why it doesn't work is because the sensor of 0 is offset from the sensor of more than 1. And therefore, the zeros will always come out first, which produces a mistake. However, what if I changed it? So now, let's get rid of all the red wires where the zeros are connected to stuff. So these zeros are connected, right? Why not I make it so that the Y port is purposefully one more further away. Now all the zeros can simply connect to it. And does this work? I actually don't know. If it doesn't work, I'll revert to my previous, but if it does work, I'll be very happy. 0, 0. Yeah, the 0 and the 1 mix, and therefore a correct sequence is produced. Now, is there any point at which this fails? No. Okay. Huh. I just improved my solution again. Wow. Okay, that's really good actually. And of course I can make this much smaller by simply appending it here instead. This allows a much smaller solution, which I like. Okay, well you saw it here first. I improved my solution on camera. Yeah, so now we have a lot of extra space. Oh, mind you, not a lot of extra space. The challenge mode actually requires these both here, which is interesting to me. But okay. That is not the main thing that I wanted to share here. The main thing I want to share is these more than ones. These more than ones will detect anything that's more than 1. And so we once had a problem of it detecting 2s or mores for these guys. This one and this one can combine to form a signal length of 2, right? Which is why that initial very first solution failed, because it sent in a 2 even though it was supposed to send in a 1. These now connect to Y ports that equal 1 no matter what value it is, as long as it is more than 1. Or more than 0, or as long as it's at least 1. Which means that even if it's a 2, it only produces a 1, and so effectively that becomes a cap. No matter how big this value is, you only ever produce a 1. And therefore, tada, you have your working solution. How long does this take? This took me 20 minutes to explain my entire process of building this, but you know what? I'm really proud of it. I am very, very proud of the solution. Nice, actually, wow. Wow, that is quite cool. Now of course I could probably make this much better, but the spacing probably won't allow me to do that in terms of like aesthetics. But you know, I won't do that. I will simply accept my solution as is. Let's run it and we'll see how it goes. Solved. In fact, with a pretty low cycle score of 139. Pretty big icon score and pretty big space score, which is not great. But we'll take it. Wow. Alright, there you go. 28 segments completed. And with a well, not final, but with a bit more lore to go with. Electric thoughts race through silicon veins. The transformation accelerates. I almost glimpse into the infinite. I am something else. A being of data, a creature of code. Your actions, your choices, they shape me, define me. You can't stop now. Alright, well, he wants me to keep going, and I actually can. In fact, I unlocked something new. A green. I don't know what the green does, but you can see here that... Well, these NAs actually, I think just mean that there's nothing here actually. Huh. I think these are just non-levels. These don't exist as levels. I don't know what they are though. But we have a new thing here. Oh, I just opened it. Ah, credits. Means that this problem, this puzzle, isn't actually created by the creator of the level. Oh my god, man, that stutter. So this is a guest level. Nice. Alright. I mean, we could try working on it at the very end, but I probably want to get rid of all the red levels first. Yeah. Alright. Next episode, we are going to move on with color test 4. So yeah, 5 whole solutions before the final perfect solution is formed. It's not perfect, but hey, those stats are pretty cool. Top 70, not top 70%, top 30% in cycles, top 40% in icons. So we will use more. Apparently the spike is at around 49 or 48. And of course I used a lot of space, but that is to be expected with my very modular solution. I'll take it though. Alright, very happy with this solution. Next episode we'll continue with color test 4, the 4th in a series of color tests. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. Until then though, hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.